Welcome to another episode of Estate Planning Nightmares and How to Avoid Them. This is a show which highlights the importance of estate planning and why everyone needs to do it. And of course, the unfortunate consequences of what happens far too often if people don't plan. I'm your host, John Braddock, author of Click Here When I Die, and the founder of My Life and Wishes, the Legacy Vault, an online planning and document storage solution created to make things easier for those you love. Well, I've got a great one lined up for you here today, folks. I'm thrilled to introduce my friend and guest, Lindsay Wheeler, a native Nevadan with a remarkable journey in the legal and business worlds. Now, Lindsay earned her bachelor's degree in international business from the University of Nevada, Reno, and went on to obtain her Juris Doctor from Lincoln Law School in Sacramento. She later completed her MBA in 2018. Lindsay has a very impressive background, having served as a judicial law clerk for the late Honorable Judge Robert H. Perry and worked with the Nevada Supreme Court Justice Michael Cherry. She also played a key role as the Senate Judiciary Committee Secretary during the 2013 Nevada legislative session. With over 20 years of experience in the legal field, Lindsay founded High Sierra Legal to help people navigate the legal process affordably. And she also hosts her own podcast called Legacy Sips and Tips with Lindsay. And in the show notes, I'm going to drop a link to that too. Encourage all of you to check it out because it's an awful lot of fun. In Lindsay's spare time, she enjoys traveling, snowboarding, and exploring the great outdoors. But let's dive into her inspiring story and insights. Welcome, Lindsay.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. So you are in Northern Nevada.
Nevada. Yes,
Nevada.
we are. Nevada. You got to say it right.
Only those that aren't from Nevada say it incorrectly, right?
Correct. We get a little testy about that.
I hear people up in Oregon versus Oregon get a little testy about that also.
Correct.
Great. Well, hey, we're going to jump into a few things here today because you've got a great background. So not only do I want to talk about, legal planning and estate planning, because as we both know, it's so critically important, but I also want to talk about some fun stuff because you're an extensive traveler and you just seem to have a really great time. So I want to share with the audience a little bit about that. But as I always do, I love to talk about passion, the why behind why people do what they do. What gets us out of bed in the morning? For you and I early on a Monday to record a podcast together, right?
Absolutely.
So I know you're passionate about a whole bunch of things: estate planning, travel, riding down big mountains on a board, and of course, wine, which we'll talk about. But let's start with the estate planning side. What inspired you to, with your background in international business and everything, up to say, you know what, I want to help people with their end of life and estate planning?
Basically because of that. I mean, there's only one guarantee in life, and is that you're not going to make it. We are all going to die eventually, hopefully later than sooner. But yeah, if you've ever experienced the probate process or have had anybody who have had to go through the probate process, you will understand what kind of nightmare that is. Not only do you have somebody who's just passed away, you're dealing with that, you're grieving, you're sad, of course, you're dealing with all those emotions, and then going, oh my God, I have to file paperwork with the court now, and digging through paperwork and looking through people's file folders and all of that mess after you've just lost somebody. It is awful. It's horrific. It's not a quick process, which people don't understand. It takes usually a quick probate. It's usually around 13 months, which is quite a long time to have everything tied up, assets tied up. But then, of course, those creditors still want to be paid. So that mortgage, that person's still being paid. And I don't know about you, but I can't cover two mortgages. So that's why I kind of got into it, that we can avoid all of that headache and that mess and make it so much easier for people and give them the ability to, take a breath, to breathe when someone's passed away. And that is through that estate planning and those revocable living trusts.
Absolutely. And our story and, my book, Click Here When I Die. I was in the financial services world. I was an employee benefit consultant for 30 years. If you had told me, 10 years ago, hey, you're going to own a tech company and help people with end of life, I'd be like, but you're on drugs, man. I don't know anything about it until it happened to us, right? And then, like you say, it's like, is there a will? How do we find it? Is there life insurance? How do we find it? Start trying to track things down and piece it together, and then deal with probate and everything else. I mean, for us, and it was very small estate for us, 1 full year.
Yeah.
And our family member lived right up the street, less than a quarter of a mile. So I can't even imagine if someone lives in a different part of the country or state trying to deal with that. And so I love to just refer to it as the morbid scavenger hunt, because that's where my family gets to dig through dead dad's shit, right? Looking for everything and tracking it down. So, wow. So how long have you been doing the estate planning side? And you started High Sierra Legal. So how long have you been doing that? And with High Sierra, what's the gap that you saw in the marketplace that you wanted to address versus traditional niche estate planning law firms?
Yeah. So, I mean, I went to law school, so you don't have to, is what I always say. And I mean, there is a gap there for sure. So when I started High Sierra Legal in 2013, I was working full time with another attorney. I was working at the legislature at one point, and just there's a necessity for it that I frankly don't feel that people should be priced out of the legal, the justice system, if you will. That just because, I have clients who are like, I make $10 an hour. What am I supposed to do? Lose my kid? That's to me is not fair, or to have to deal with, exorbitant fees, or in the estate planning realm, when attorneys will take a percentage of someone's estate. I always say you're taking a percentage of someone's life, which I frankly don't think is right. So I flat rate everything. Nothing is billable hours. I don't deal in that because that's a nightmare for me. And just making that accessibility for people a little bit more affordable. Do I need to have a Porsche and mahogany desk and a really good looking secretary? Sure. Do I want those things? Maybe. Do I need them? No. And I don't, as long as I can pay my bills, I can have a little bit to go travel with and have fun, then I'm fine with that. I don't need the big mansion in, Beverly Hills or whatever it is that some of these attorneys have to justify that and have these exorbitant fees for people who most every day can't afford those things. So I like to make that legal system, or those legal vehicles, if you will, accessible to everybody.
That's awesome. When we first started the Legacy Vault, and it was just direct to consumer at the time, we originally had a price point of $79 a year for people to store and secure all their important things, to help families to avoid the, pardon the language, but the shitstorm that awaits if they don't plant. And people would say to me, my God, I mean, that's so inexpensive. It's like, you can charge a lot more than that. Much like you. I said, I want this to be available to everybody. I want everyone to be able to access this. I don't want someone to think, no, I'm not going to spend $200, $300 a year. It's too much money. And you're right.
Yeah.
If I come to your office, Lindsay, and I walk by, your McLaren sitting out front, my first thought is, she's probably very good at what she does, but she also charges a lot.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's kind of a misnomer too, that a lot of attorneys may charge an arm and a leg, but they may not be good practitioners. You never know. And that's kind of the gamble you take. And I know a lot of in my area, estate planning starts at around $5,000, $6,000, up to, the moon at that point, for basic paperwork. And a lot of times in the legal field, surprise or spoiler alert for everybody, this stuff is boilerplate. And it is that way because it's either statutorily set or it's legally code, whatever, your state follows. So we all are working off the same kind of format, because I don't want to be a judge, if you will, or a law clerk in a judge's office and have to look at all these different types of formats. That's why we have it set in a specified manner, because we all are on the same page, if you will. So, having to pay these fees for basically 90% boilerplate work is, I don't know, highway robbery to me in a lot of ways. And I know, I always tell people, I'm like, you're not really paying for my, expertise, a little bit depending on your situation, but oftentimes you're just paying me as your travel guide. I am your roadmap through the legal process. I speak the language. I know the journey of where we're going. I know maybe some of the shortcuts, but you can figure this stuff out. A lot of these things are becoming a little bit more accessible to people to figure out on their own because of the necessity of that, because there are a lot of people who can't afford six, seven, $8,000 to an attorney to do the work for them. So a lot of the jurisdictions and a lot of the courthouses are having, forms that they can download that you can do it yourself. They have lawyer in the library. They have a lot of resources online now. AI, frankly, has been pretty helpful in getting people to access the legal system and be able to do it on their own or do it at a more affordable rate. And that's where I kind of step in, as I'm kind of that bridge where I'm kind of helping you do it on your own, but I have the knowledge and maybe the education to help kind of guide you through it in that sense.
And make sure it's legally binding and everything is designed to work as expected. And no, I love that. I think that's great. Affordability and accessibility are key for an awful lot of people. Have you seen like a massive uptick since the pandemic, since COVID? When everyone got locked down, did people start thinking, "Oh shit, I could actually die"? Which you were going to die anyway, but
Right.
it just opened your eyes a little bit, right?
Yeah, with the pandemic sooner than later. Yes and no. A lot of people, I think, became more aware of, what's going on in the world and that maybe they should handle their affairs. Or if they unfortunately experienced somebody who did pass away during the pandemic and didn't have maybe accessibility to things, maybe didn't have the ability to take care of things because they were, in a situation where they were locked down or they weren't able to leave or take care of those things for those people. But primarily it's just an education thing. A lot of people don't understand, people think, oh, well, my loved ones will just deal with that. Or, with the bare minimum, people go, oh, I have a will, I've written something out, or I've typed something out and I've had it notarized. Okay, that's great. But your heirs are still going through the probate process with that will. All a will is the roadmap for the court to follow through that probate process. So a lot of people don't understand that. They think, oh, I'm great. My kids will be great. I have a will. Great. Thank you. At least we have some direction, but we're all going to court, to court and to probate. So that's where I try to educate people on that. There are ways to avoid that probate process, putting people on as direct beneficiaries if you want to do it that way, or creating that revocable living trust that will help avoid that probate process because you're kind of doing your paperwork and your probate process ahead of time. So we don't need to go to court because we don't need that affirmation because you've done it for us, which is cool. You have control over it. You're able to take care of things during your lifetime. You're managing it just like you would like a family business. And then when you're not here, your successor trustee or whoever it is that you delineated on there steps in, takes care of your family business right from the get-go. No lag time, no waiting, no going in front of a judge, and it's handled accordingly from there. So it's a little bit of pre-planning or pre-work to save your loved ones so much on the back end. So I always say, people get weird about it, like, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm going to die if I figure out my paperwork. And it's like, no. This is not for you. Honestly, this is really a gift for your children or for your heirs. Please give them that gift of not having to dig through your shit right after you've passed away. Like, oh my God, don't do that to your loved ones. It's awful.
Oh, amen. Yeah, it's so funny because people all the time, it's like, well, yeah, I know I should do it, but why bother and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, I guess you can answer that question this way. Start with this question and answer it. What do you want the experience to be like for your family after your death?
Right.
Sadness and grief are fine, part of healing. Anger, frustration, confusion, added anxiety, stress, time, money, those are avoidable if we work on it. And it's interesting, you make that point, which I love, the differentiation between a will and a trust, designed to eliminate the added expense in the court probate. And what's really interesting is when I talk to people and they say, yeah, I've got a will and that kind of stuff. And if I just simply ask them, can you tell me, high level, what that's going to do for you? And 9 times out of 10, they describe what would be a trust.
Right.
They
that happens a lot.
that it's going to happen, and it's like, whew, well, no, that's a public document now, and all kinds of things are going to happen.
And I think
From
that's a
that.
good point. Yeah, people don't understand that either with probate. Probate's public record. Like I can literally go on the court website right now and show everybody and poke through people's lives. I can see their death certificate. I can see how they passed away. I can see how old they are. I can see where they lived. I can see where their property is. I can see where their children live. Like, I mean, you can see all of that. And the will becomes public as well. So you can poke through that and look at that as well, which is a lot of people don't want their business out there in the world. But with that, that's what happens. It takes
And it's rife
forever,
for
you know, that's
it's
the
rife
thing.
for scammers too, because there are
Right.
bad
Yeah. People,
people that find that, who are calling your widow or your widower, you know, telling you a story that, oh yeah, I was a veteran too, and let me help you with this and that,
hmm
and oh, trying to extract money out of someone that's just lost somebody.
yeah, because you're not in your right mind when someone's passed away, it's difficult. And if someone's like, oh, I can help you with this, you're like, great, and the expense of it, people don't understand that majority of attorneys will take a percentage of that estate. So yeah, you might think, okay, getting an estate plan in place, even if it is $5,000, right? So you pay an attorney in your area, even if it's $10,000, cool. Okay. That's super, super high end. Let's be real. That's exorbitant. It shouldn't cost that much. But even if it did, that is saving your loved ones tens of thousands of dollars because think about, property values these days or your full estate. So you consolidate your entire life and you have one lump sum. You have a $500,000 house. You have some investments, maybe that didn't get, a beneficiary on there. You have a bank account. You have some vehicles. So say at the end of the day, you have, $700,000 or maybe even $1 million. That attorney typically is going to take 15% of that entire amount. An average probate that you'll pay an attorney is usually around $26,000, $30,000. That is money that could have went to your children, to your heirs, or to whoever you wanted to go to. The cat rescue down the street. That $30,000 could have went there by you just ponying up a couple grand at the beginning to take care of that stuff. So like pick your poison of what you'd want to do. And your loved ones are probably going to be pretty pissed, like you said at the end, and being like, wow, you cheaped out on a couple grand to basically stick me with a bill of 30K that I could have used my inheritance or my generational wealth, if that, you want to think about that way, because you were too lazy or didn't want to think about it and just do the pre-planning for me. Cool. Thanks, mom. Like it's not fun.
Yeah. What do you want your family to experience after you're gone?
Yeah.
I
Like
hate
for me, I want to
that.
make it as easy as possible for people, like
Cheap
why would I
bastard could have
want
spent
people to
three thousand
struggle?
dollars. Could have spent 3 grand, but no, he didn't. Cost us 30 and 2 years in court.
Yeah. And even then, like, that's my whole kind of soapbox is that, I try to make it as affordable as possible. If you want me to do it, my full, concierge service, as you will. But I also have an offering where I make it as easy as possible. I have the price points. You can do it yourself. I have a step-by-step tutorial, course essentially that you download the documents, you fill them out at your leisure from your home. I have it where we can do it for you, where you just send us your information. We get it. We, kind of do the documents for you and email them back for you, and you take care of the rest of it. We can get you an estate plan as low as $297.
Wow.
So even then, your loved ones are going to be like, wow, $300. You couldn't have just sat and for, 40 minutes and got this done. Awesome.
Right. So I love what you're doing at High Sierra, and you've obviously led into this other thing because you're an entrepreneur and you're busy and you're doing a lot of stuff. So High Sierra is a lot more planning, and we're going to help you, but at an affordable way, and we're going to make sure we take care of family. But you have almost a DIY
Mhm.
option, right? Through another kind of side company that you have. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the full concierge is High Sierra Legal. That's usually typically more Nevada centric. We do other states, of course, as well, but usually that's for our Nevada residents. And that's, full hand holding like you would expect as a normal, estate planning firm, if you will, who's going to take care of that doc prep firm. With that, then, because I did see the need of it, that people are like, well, I still can't even afford that. Okay, here you go. I have a do-it-yourself option, $300. You're able to go on there. I have all the forms, all the documents you need, video tutorials that walk you through it. So I'm hand holding you, but on a virtual level, if you will. There's really no excuse not to get it done. And then we've also offered that we do it for you. So kind of like, the normal, like you think about legal Zoom or like wills and trust or whatever, those kind of less personalized services, but still get that done for you. I think Susie Orman has one, which is good too. And then so we can do it that for $600. You'll have your full estate plan done for you. You get it, you print it out, you get it notarized, witnessed, and then you can go ahead and then transfer your assets from there. And then within basically an afternoon's worth of work of doing all that, you have a full estate plan in place. So there's really no excuse for either financially or just time-wise that you shouldn't have this in place for your loved ones. So we try to make that as easy as possible. So yeah, we have High Sierra Legal, and then we have Your Estate Plan online, and that's our kind of do-it-yourself option as well. So you have the full gamut. And even at Your Estate Plan online, we offer a payment plan even. So, I mean, there's zero excuse for anybody not to have their estate plan in place. And we're national, so we're all, throughout the nation for your state, for you. It's customizable. It's not really as generic as some of these other ones are. Like, it's definitely customizable to your situation and your life, because everyone's life's different.
Absolutely. And that's great, because I was going to ask that. It's like, now this is not just for people in Nevada. Did I say all right?
Yep. Good job.
Thank you. Trying. So yeah. No borders here. If you're in Florida, New York, New Hampshire, Arizona, check it out, because as you probably all get tired of me saying, it's like, statistics are still pretty damn strong. 1 out of 1 of us are going to die.
Yeah.
We just don't know when. And don't give me the old excuse that, well, I have time, because you don't have that crystal ball, and neither do I. So just get it done. As Lindsay said, you can get that done, half a day or so. And then you've got peace of mind.
That's like half a day for like you to go to the bank and the DMV and the recorder and funding. To get the paperwork done, it's about 45 minutes from the comfort of your couch. Like, it is not difficult, and this is where I think I get really frustrated with. I think a lot of practitioners try to make this more complicated than it is. Because why? Because if you were told, man, it only takes me an hour to do your paperwork and I'm charging you $6,000, you're going to be pissed. So, I mean, often, don't get me wrong, you're still paying for us to go to school and to have our expertise and the knowledge that we have. But, at the end of the day, an attorney's office is going to hand this off to a paralegal who they pay a fraction of the cost to do all the work. They maybe skim it over, and then they do, they maybe meet with you a couple times to justify that portion out front. So, there's really no excuse for you not to have it done, because it is that it's basic information. And people, like I said, try to make it more difficult than it is. A trust is basically 5 things. It's who you are as a trustor, creating the trust. It's who you're going to have manage the trust, which is typically yourself in the beginning. That's your trustor or your trustee. Your success, your trustee is going to manage it. So you, the trustor, creating it. You, the trustee, is going to initially manage it. What we're going to call the trust, which is usually your name. If you're not able to manage it, either you're incapacitated or you're dead, who's going to manage it from that point? That's your successor trustee. And where does your shit go? That is a trust. Bare bones. We could literally write it on a piece of paper right now if we wanted to. Yes, there's more language in there of things of how it operates and how it's managed and what have you. So usually a typical trust agreement's around 18 to 19 pages, maybe 20 pages, depending on what you want in there. But it gives you that control. And the really cool thing about an estate plan and a trust as well, with a revocable living trust, is that it is changeable for your lifetime. You're able to amend it. You're able to revoke it. You're able to go in there and say, well, my kid, is not acting so good right now. Let me put some parameters on there. Or the very minute, my thing is that you have children, especially underage children, you should automatically have an estate plan. Automatically. You should probably also have life insurance automatically too for that, to take care of those underage kids, because as we know, bad things happen. And if something were to happen to you and you have an underage child, who's going to take care of that kid? You might not want your great aunt Tess to take care or raise your child. You might want your best friend down the street who has children the same age and has same kind of values and morals that you would want your child to be raised as. You can put that in your trust and your estate plan. You have that guardianship nomination for where you would prefer your children to go, that if you weren't here. That's first thing. And then secondly, you can put parameters on that. So you're still parenting your children from beyond the grave. So if you don't have that and you have underage children, whatever you have it for your life, maybe you have investments, maybe you have benefit, life insurance, maybe you have bank accounts, maybe you have good assets. When you pass away, all of that is going to get put into like a block trust account, and at 18 your kid's going to get all of that. So say you're working out and you've got maybe $100,000, $500,000, whatever it is, your 18-year-old's going to get 500K. And I don't know about you, but at 18, if I got 500K, I'm getting a Lamborghini. So that's the super cool thing about estate planning and about these revocable living trusts is you can put those parameters that, hey, your kid at 18 is only going to get 25% for reasonable education expenses. At 25, they can, get more 25% for additional education expenses, or at, to put it down on a house or something. And at 30, hopefully we're responsible enough and we can give them the rest of their distribution. Or you could be like my friend and she's like, fuck them kids. They're not getting anything until 55 and after a financial literacy class. So, you can do that. You can put whatever you want. I've had clients do grade percentages that if they get all A's, they get a bonus of $1,000. If they get C's and below, they'll owe the trust money, so you can still kind of put those parameters. And that's what's super cool about it, is that you're still controlling these things even when you're not here. So why would you not want to do that? Why would you want to put all of your control in your, into the hands of a court or to whoever else, the next of kin that's going to be dealing with that, People don't think about that. Of course, we don't want to think about if we're going to die and leave our underage children orphans. That's an awful thing to think about.
Right.
But unfortunately, those bad things happen.
Oh, totally, totally. And yeah, you are so 100% spot on, because a trust is fun, actually, in that, because Michelle and I did that with our trust, and we review it every couple of years. Now all the kids are adults, and so we some of the parameters are off that were there. They used to call it like a spendthrift clause or whatever the heck it was, just because if I'd gotten $500,000 at 18, at 19 I'd have some really cool shit, but I'd be broke.
Right.
Right. So anyway, and again, I tell people all the time, if you have young children, if you don't have an estate plan, the state is going to decide. And you want your mom and dad fighting with his or her mom and dad, and then siblings involved, and how good is that for the child, right? So anyway, we're all going to die. We all need an estate plan. And and again, as I always like to say to those people, say, oh, estate, that's for wealthy people. Estate's a fancy word for stuff. You all have stuff.
We all have an estate. We all have an estate, no matter what little amount you think. And that's again, the misnomer, because these rich affluent people knew these vehicles. And now that's why I'm trying to educate people about these vehicles are for everyone, not just the rich and affluent. And we think about that like, oh, I have to have ponies, yachts, and chalets. No, a revocable living trust is just so you can avoid probate for your heirs. That's it. We're making it easy for when we die.
Absolutely.
Let's do that.
Absolutely. Take Lindsay's advice, people. Get it done. It's affordable. It's not hard. So let's just transition a little, because, death is fun and we talk about it all the time. People say, how do you do that every day? And it's like, hey, it's only death, lighten up. But let's talk about fun shit, because we're still alive, right? So
right.
I know you have a love of travel, a world traveler, you're a snowboarder, all kinds of outdoor activities, you enjoy wine. So let's talk about for a few minutes, just like travel. Where do you go? How do you balance your professional life with living your own life?
Yeah, so that's kind of why I went on my own. I have, my undergrad's in business. I have an MBA. I have a really passionate for business and getting people set up a business. You don't want to work for the man? Call me. I will definitely coach you through that. I'll be your hype man. I'll get you what you need to get that happening. You want to sell Funko Pops out of your mom's basement? I got you. That kind of stuff. So I really enjoy that, and living a life, because we are going to die. Why would we want to suffer and toil, for misery, essentially? So I've kind of curated my business. So we're, especially with the pandemic, people are more comfortable being online. We're doing Zooms. Like, we don't need to be in somebody's physical office anymore. And so I've really got it to that point where I can travel. I still work with people. I still make sure that we have meetings. Sometimes I adjust the time frame just because of where I'm at. But yeah, I love to travel. I've been to 30 countries so far. A lot of those I just keep going back to because I just enjoyed them so much. Just got back from a trip from Ireland and France, which was incredible. That was super fun. I love to ski. Well, I don't really ski. I snowboard. So I love to snowboard. I kind of live for the snow. So wherever snow is, I usually go, and really enjoy wine as well. My boyfriend's a winemaker. And so I I hang out in the wineries as well.
Well, it's awesome because I love your podcast, Sips and Tips, right? And we were joking before we started recording this morning that usually when you're doing your podcast, you're enjoying a nice glass of wine and
Yeah.
those kind of things. But seeing as how it's early in the AM for you and I, where we have some coffee going on, so
Yeah.
but it is
I love that with the
interesting.
podcast. Yeah, so the podcast has every episode has a new wine that I've been drinking. If any winery would love to sponsor me, I will rep the shit out of your brand. So, put that out there. So
Dang.
if any winery wants to send me free wine, I will talk about it all day long.
It's funny. About a year ago, a good friend of mine who's up in Washington State and I were doing a once a week show, and we did it for probably about 3 or 4 months for kind of his and my network. So we really didn't set it up as a podcast, but it was a live Zoom where we had discussions, and we called it Legacy and Libations,
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
where we talk about death and the beverages that get us through
Oh, that's perfect.
it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, lots of fun. So where's your favorite travel destination after being in 30 countries? Is there a favorite, or if
I
you could
love
only
Japan.
if you could only get back to one because the end was near, where would you go?
So I think about Anthony Bourdain, who is just an incredible person. And he said, because everyone's like, oh, he'll pick France because that's, kind of his thing. He said, nope, Tokyo, because you can get whatever you want in Tokyo, whatever it is. Japan is an incredible country. It is super clean, super tidy, organized, incredibly nice people, cultural, historical, geographical. Like they have the most incredible snow, frankly. Top 5 powder runs of my entire life was in Japan. So, and then they have, all the way down to, Okinawa, they have, tropical, you want to go diving, you want to go check out all that stuff. So it's geographically super diverse. They have hot spring areas. They have the major, obviously, city, they have Tokyo, and they have, all the other major cities. Kyoto is their historic city. It's just, it's such a cool place. I'm also very partial to Europe, of course. I love France. My dad's English, so I have that root history there. So I do really enjoy Europe, but Japan is incredible. It is an incredible country. So if you can go, and it's safe. So if it's your first time traveling, you think that's a really big trip, that's kind of nerve-wracking, you'll be fine. Japan is super cool. Like I said, clean, tidy, organized, extremely safe, extremely safe. So you can feel rest assured that you're going to be comfortable. No one's going to be robbing your backpack. So that's always nice too.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. Well, as we wrap this up, Lindsay, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you're like, dang, wish you'd asked me that question?
Not really, just hammering it in there that you're all going to die. I know we don't want to think about it, and I know it sucks, but bad things happen, and hopefully we'll all live to 110, have a beautiful long life, and all of our loved ones will be there when we pass away. But the reality is that bad shit happens all the time. And I that's my job. I deal with bad shit. So this is probably why I drink and snowboard a lot. It's heavy, you have to deal with this, and people being lost in accidents or tragedies or suicide or whatever it is, or just passed away unexpectedly. It's difficult and it sucks and it's hard, but we all have to understand that it is going to happen. And so why wouldn't we do a little bit of pre-planning to make sure that that is as easy as possible for people? Having your shit organized, having it in like the legacy vault like we have, or my life and wishes, having it accessible for people. Don't make people hunt around for your stuff in your house. Like, that's not fun. Don't make people wonder where your bank accounts are, or if you have investments, or maybe you have your travel slush fund that your spouse doesn't know about. You let people know who's supposed to know that, when that time comes. Make it as easy as possible. And we have ways to make it as easy as possible. Why would you not take advantage of that? So it's kind of my soapbox on that a little bit.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, yeah, you're right. We are all going to die. No one wants to think about it, but make a plan, put it in place, then go out there and live each day to its fullest, like it's your last, because you never know.
Well, that's what I tell people too. I'm like, you have this all in place. I go, bitchin', now you can go skydive, you can go swim with the sharks, you can do whatever you want now because it's already in place. You're not like, oh, well, oh, if I die today, oh, they have to deal with this stuff. No, you've already done that. So you can YOLO it up if you want to. So that's my catchphrase. When you think of death, think of me. So we'll get that handled for you. Like I said, on every facet you need it to be done. Do it yourself at $297 to, we can do it for you and semi handhold you for $600, or we can do full concierge at High Sierra Legal flat rate, typically under 300 or 3,000, way more affordable than the attorney. There's honestly really no excuse for you not to get this done, because we offer every availability for you to do so.
Amen. I totally agree with you. So, hey, Lindsay, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you and to be able to share with our audience. Audience, as always, thanks so much for being here with us. And please feel free to reach out to Lindsay if you have any questions or concerns on your own planning. To make that easy for you, I have included in our show notes her contact information, where you can reach out to her firms, get questions answered, and make a plan. Because
yeah, you can also find me on all the socials. I'm at Sips and Tips with Lindsay or High Sierra Legal, yourstateplan.online. I love just chit chatting with people, or talk to me about travel, talk to me about wine, talk to me about snowboard, talk about fun stuff that you're doing. I love to talk about that too. So it's not just about death. We like to talk about other fun things too.
Absolutely. And I'll post all your socials out there too, and be sure and follow her. And as always, my friends, your life is your legacy, so plan ahead and make it a great day.